Oh, you're talking to me. Oh, hello to you too then, stranger. Forgive me, I'm not used to people coming up to me. Especially not ones this attractive. You're not from here, are you? Otherwise, I'm sure I would have noticed you before. No offense, but you don't really fit in with the crowd. Well, the folks here tend to have some unique qualities. Very much stay to themselves. They can sense an outsider from miles away, so you better be careful. Oh, so it's your hometown. I see. After fleeing the nest, I'm guessing it's just a brief visit. You won't find much around these parts. Everyone ends up moving to the bigger cities once they're old enough, and then they come back every now and again. Well, that's the fate of the small town. But I think the people here like it that way. Nothing changes, and the elders get to set the rules. It stays quiet. And nobody cares to speak up against any of the choices made. Most rural towns share a similar mindset in that regard. They prefer their secluded community and keeping things as they are. Humans tend to be terrified of change. After all, they always have been. Funny, isn't it? How people like to think that they've gotten so far, developed and incorporated so many new things into society. But still, deep down, it's exactly the same being, driven by the same motives, sharing the same fears. People like to consider themselves complex. I suppose they are in some ways, but how do you have to dig? How deep do you have to go to find the same core with everyone? The same urges, needs, desires. Their yearning for love and approval, their hunger for thirst and fear. Their fear and their confidence. Still, they're so quick to judge, to ignore somebody in need because they don't deem that person worthy of help. But surely, if they worked harder, then they'd have been better. They wouldn't be in such bad situations now, would they? Oddly enough, some use of that metric for themselves too. Maybe they want to believe that life is fair, that people get what they deserve, and that in the end there will be some kind of reward or punishment for their behavior. Randomness is a terrifying thought, though, isn't it? The idea that nothing actually matters. It's much easier to believe that than there's a good reason, a good or a bad, a choice that makes a difference. People need that, in a way, because it wouldn't be fair to see evil succeed and to see a good person struggle. What would the point be of being good in a world like that? What would be the point in trying? Humanity is truly fascinating. So simplistic yet so complicated. In a way, they remind me of ants, hustling and bustling all about, each trying to contribute to the colony, whilst attempting to keep themselves alive. They fear to look further than the comfort of their own home. They like the warmth of familiarity, but sometimes they get lost. They need one another. But hunger and the yearning for more drives them out to the wilderness, where they can't care for themselves anymore, where they end up being exposed to the elements, to predators all alone. No sense of self, or perhaps, if they're lucky, they stumble upon a new colony. I suppose everyone is searching for something. Ants and humans alike. But you know, the question is, what? What about you, stranger? What is it you're looking for? You too appear a bit lost within yourself, as they don't really know what it is you want. It's clear you're craving something. Company, perhaps? Love. Greatness. A distraction. Punishment. Well, you think about it. How many others might feel exactly the way you do? People always seem to think that their struggles are unique, as though nobody will ever be able to understand them. You wouldn't believe just how many have had near identical experiences. The same feeling of lacking something, the same words of discouragement whispered into their head, the same nightmares keeping them awake. Humans really are interesting creatures. Somehow they're all so similar, and yet all entirely different. Though perhaps they're not as unique as they'd like to think. After all, they carried near all of their ancestors within them, in one way or another. Not only in appearance, many behaviors are learned too, perhaps without even realizing it. Like the way they laugh, the way their great-great-grandmother did. Or hold a pen the way a distant relative in the 19th century used to. Or perhaps your taste, the way you see the world, the way you walk, the way you dress, your favorite scent, your hair color and texture, every single cone and speck within your eyes. All those things aren't uniquely yours, are they? If you were introduced to every person in your bloodline, you'd be surprised of how many of your traits you would find mirrored in others. Still, there's probably nobody who's exactly like you. Is that what makes you different? The fact that that only others have pieces of the beautiful puzzle that you are. Or does it make you less unique than since you are just a composition of everybody who's ever came before you? If you think about it, your entire being is a story. A love letter to people long gone. Or perhaps a biography of pain and mistreatment. You might never know. All those memories are lost, after all. There's no way of retrieving them. We don't have the ability to go back in time and see for ourselves. To ask those who have passed. That kind of power is not for us. Even if it was, and people might only abuse it. On a similar note though, I wonder, if you were a god, what would you do with that influence? Would you destroy what's left of humanity? Or would you try to guide them towards a better world? Or simply watch, study them, see what they might come up with on their own, and just how much of their success and failures they attribute to you. Would you play favorites? Rile them up against one another? Have them fight for your entertainment? Or would you end world hunger and bring peace upon humanity? A silly little hypothetical. But you'd be surprised how many different answers I've gotten. Perhaps it says something about how you grew up, about your own desires. Maybe it's a reflection of what you deserve, or how you see those around you. Your empathy, deepest fears, strongest emotions. Especially since you aren't partaking, you're merely an observer, able to influence the outcomes and probabilities, give blessings and curses to those you deem unworthy. A strange thought though, isn't it? An uncomfortable thing to consider. It raises the question, how much control a god would have and how much free will a person is given. People like to think that their thoughts and choices are their own, that they have control over what they do. But I suppose we may never know for sure. I'm beginning to like you, stranger. You have an honest stance that most others lack. You believe in the good in people. Maybe that's why you came to me. 'Cause you think you can fix whatever it is you deem broken. Or perhaps my mystery caught your attention. I don't think I'm fixable anymore. Though I have to admit, the company is nice. I tend to spend most nights alone. I have for a very long time. Always a stranger, hole hopping from one town to the next. Never quite fitting anywhere. But I've dared to move to a bigger city and they tend to be too much for me. Too many irritating lights and colors and smells and noises. All that. I'd miss being able to see the night sky. The stars still give me a sense of comfort. A feeling of belonging that I've never felt anywhere else. I guess that's just what happens when you approach a lonely drunk. They talk. Not sure why I'm telling you this, though. A tradition that has been held up for centuries. But in the end, doesn't really matter what I tell you. You too will forget about me. Eventually. Whether that be tomorrow or in a year. I mean nothing in the trajectory of your life. I'll mean nothing. The next time you visit here, and I'll probably be gone. Because somebody like me can only ever stay so long without being noticed. And an outsider will only be tolerated for a certain amount of time. I suppose in a way, I'm running away from myself. Still seeking the comfort of people attempting to escape the loneliness. Even though I can never quite manage to find that. You know, you've been the first person to talk to me in many years. And I'd like to thank you for that. I don't understand why you do it, but not many souls have your purity and curiosity. In a way, you remind me of somebody. Just your presence feels vaguely familiar. Like the melody of a song I'd almost forgotten. Forget I said anything. Some things are best left in the past. Don't you agree? You know, we're not so different. You and I. I guess I've just become another person. A simple being yearning for approval. For the company of another soul. Even if they don't understand. It's difficult. But I imagine you know the feeling as well as I. In the end, even a fallen god is nothing but another human for the most part. Enough of that though. I'd rather not take up any more of your time. You have so little. Make it count, stranger. You might just be able to do something with it. Hey guys, Suru here. If you guys enjoy this audio, you can learn it any way you think is fine. From the day this audio is uploaded, there will not be another upload until maybe the 2nd or most likely the 3rd of April. So, like next week I'll upload an audio. And then from there I will be on my regular schedule of uploading every day for you guys. I do apologize on me slacking a lot for you. But yeah, as always, if you did enjoy this audio, you can let me know any way you think is fine, and I sure do hope you guys have a good sleep tonight if you're listening to this as you're about to fall asleep. Oh man, Eminem who? You guys have a good night. As always, bye bye.